In 1992, Dale Hoffman sat in his Peterbilt, engine idling at the Texaco off Route 287. The 18-wheeler was loaded with machine parts, bound for Dallas. 20 minutes later, he climbed back into the cab, drove out of the lot, and vanished. No crash, no wreck, no body. After 8 months of searching, the insurance company paid out $700,000. His wife, Linda, was told he'd probably run away to start over. Town gossip whispered about another woman. His daughter, Emma, grew up believing her father had walked out on them. Then, in October 2012, Garrison Quarry was drained for industrial work. 30 feet down, crews found a 1987 Peterbilt, perfectly preserved in the still water. Dale was still strapped in the driver's seat. The medical examiner almost missed the bullet hole. Small caliber, back of the head, hidden under 20 years of silt. But the receipt in Dale's jacket changed everything. 2 coffees, 2 sandwiches, time-stamped 11:47 p.m. Dale never bought 2 of anything. Someone else had been in that truck. Someone who knew exactly which quarry had been closed since someone patient enough to wait 20 years for their crime to stay hidden. Emma Hoffman was sorting paint samples at Morrison's Hardware when her phone rang. Unknown number, local area code. She almost didn't pick up, probably a sales call, but something made her thumb press, accept. Emma Hoffman speaking. "This is Sheriff Tom Garrett. I need you to sit down." She gave a sharp, uneasy laugh. "I'm at work. What's this about?" "We found your father." The paint samples slipped from her hand. Cerulean blue, desert sand, rust red. They scattered across the linoleum like playing cards. 20 years of saying, "My father left when I was 8, without flinching. 20 years of practiced calm, gone in 4 words. That's not possible. His truck was in Garrison Quarry, the one they're draining for the new site. No, the word came out flat. My father drove away. November 8, 1992. He left us. Ma'am, I need you to come to the medical examiner's office. Your mother, is Linda Brennan still your mother? Linda Hayes now. She remarried. Emma's legs felt weak. She sat down on a paint can. You're wrong. He left. That's what the insurance company said. Please come to the county building. Your mother's already on her way. Emma drove the 12 miles on autopilot. The county building squatted on Main Street like always. Brown brick, small windows. She'd been there once before. At 16, after a drunk driving charge got pled down to reckless operation. Different sheriff then. Old man Garrett had been just a deputy, the one who'd worked her dad's case. The medical examiner's office was in the basement. Fluorescent lights buzzed. The air smelled like strong cleaner, trying to cover something worse. Her mother sat in a plastic chair, still in her Walmart vest. Linda Hayes, now 52, looked nothing like Linda Hoffman. The woman who had waited by the phone for 3 months had been replaced by one who no longer waited for anything. Mom, Linda looked up. Her face was strange, not exactly sad, more confused. They're saying it's Dale. It can't be. Sheriff Garrett came through a side door. He was older now, belly straining against his uniform, but Emma remembered him from her father's case. Young deputy back then, eager, always taking notes. Mrs. Hayes, Miss Hoffman, thank you for coming. How do you know it's him? Emma asked. Dental records match. VIN number on the truck matches. His wallet was in his pocket. Garrett sat across from them, hands folded. The truck was 30 feet down, perfectly preserved in the quarry water. No air meant nothing really rotted. I don't understand, Linda whispered. He left. The insurance man said he probably went to Mexico. There was that woman in Amarillo. There was never any woman in Amarillo. Emma snapped. 20 years of defending him, even when she hated him for leaving. That was just gossip. The medical examiner found something. Garrett pulled out a folder. This is going to be hard to hear. Emma's chest tightened. Your father didn't leave. He was murdered. The lights buzzed louder. Or maybe it was just in Emma's head. Small caliber gunshot wound to the back of the skull. Likely, the angle shows he was sitting when shot. He was already dead before the truck hit the water. Linda made a sound. Not quite a sob. Not quite a laugh. But the insurance money, they said he ran off. We used it for the house. For Emma's college. The case is being reopened as a homicide. Emma stood up, sat down, stood again. I need to see him. That's not a good idea. 20 years underwater. I need to see him. Garrett looked at Linda, who slowly nodded. He led them down a hallway that grew colder with each step. The morgue door was heavy steel. Inside, everything was white tile and stainless steel. 3 tables, one covered with a blue sheet. The medical examiner was a young woman, looking fresh out of school. Family, his wife, his daughter. She pulled the sheet back, just enough to show the face. Emma had expected horror decay, maybe just a skull. But the cold water had done something strange, almost mummified him. His face was dried leather and bone, but recognizable. The mustache he'd refused to shave, the scar on his chin from a loading dock accident. "That's Dale," Linda whispered. Emma touched the table's edge. Cold metal. Real. This was real. Her father hadn't chosen to leave. He hadn't picked freedom over family. Someone had stolen that choice. "There's something else," the examiner said. She held up an evidence bag. Inside was a receipt, preserved by time and water. This was in his pocket. From the Texaco on Route 2087. November 8, 11:47 p.m. Emma read it through the plastic. 2 coffees, 2 sandwiches. Dad never ate 2 sandwiches, she said automatically. "That's what we need to talk about," Garrett said. Someone was with him that night. Someone who was supposed to be on that run, but called in sick last minute. His business partner, Carl Briggs. The name hit Emma like ice water. Uncle Carl, who brought Christmas presents after Dad left. Uncle Carl, who helped Mom with the insurance forms. Uncle Carl, who sold the trucking business 5 years later and retired to his place on Lake Buchanan. Carl said Dale was depressed. Linda said slowly. Said he'd been talking about starting fresh. "Carl's the one who told me to file the insurance. We'll need to ask him some questions," Garrett said carefully. Emma looked back at her father's face. 20 years underwater. 20 years of birthdays, graduations, Christmases, her wedding, thinking he chose to miss them. The grief she'd processed, the anger she'd worked through, the acceptance she'd finally found. All of it built on a lie. "The truck," she said suddenly. "Can I see the truck?" "It's at the impound lot. I want to see it." The impound lot sat behind the sheriff's office. Dale's Peterbilt stood in the corner, water still dripping from underneath. Algae clung to it like fur, green and black. The chrome was ruined, but it was his truck. The dent in the bumper, from when Emma hit it with her bike. The Georgia Bulldog sticker in the window. Garrett opened the driver's door. The cab exhaled, 20 years of lake water and silence. Emma's school photo was still taped to the dashboard, protected by plastic. 8 years old, missing her front teeth, smiling wide. The photo he looked at every day on his runs. He kept it, she said. "There's more." Garrett pointed to the sleeping compartment. His overnight bag was packed for a 3-day run. Nothing missing but his logbook. He always kept his logbook. Exactly. But here's the strange part. Garrett pulled out another evidence bag. Another Texaco receipt. This one was wedged under the passenger seat. Same night, same place, but different time. 1 coffee, 1 sandwich, paid with credit card. Carl Briggs. Emma stared at the receipt. Carl was there. Looks that way. But he told investigators he stayed home sick. His wife confirmed it. His wife would say anything, Linda said, her voice harder now. Dolores never questioned him. Emma touched the truck's door. Rust flaked under her hand. "He didn't leave us." "No," Garrett said. "He didn't." "Then who's been living with this for 20 years? Who looked me in the eye at graduation and said, 'Dad would be proud'? Who came to my wedding and said it was a shame Dad couldn't walk me down the aisle?" Garrett didn't answer. He didn't need to. Emma looked at the photo on the dashboard, waiting all those years in its plastic sleeve at the bottom of a quarry. Her father had been down there staring at her 8-year-old face, while she grew up hating him. "I want to help," she said. "Whatever you need. I want to help catch who did this." "Emma," Linda started. "No, Mom, 20 years. Whoever did this has been walking free while Dad was down there. While we thought." Her voice cracked. "I wrote him a letter when I was 12. Told him I hated him. Mailed it to every Dale Hoffman in Texas." The sun was setting behind the impound fence. The truck's shadow stretched long and dark. "We'll get them," Garrett said. "Whoever did this, we'll get them." Emma nodded, but she was thinking about Carl Briggs, about his smile at her wedding, about how he said her father would be proud, about how he sold the trucking business and retired early. about how he helped with the insurance that paid for her college, blood money, all of it. Emma couldn't sleep. 3 days since they pulled Dad's truck from the quarry, and she couldn't stop seeing that receipt. 2 coffees, 2 sandwiches. She sat at her kitchen table at 3 a.m., laptop open, scrolling through old newspaper archives. Twin Pines Trucking announces new routes. June, local business sees record growth. August, then nothing after November. No announcement about Dale Hoffman's disappearance. Just a short piece in January 1993 about Carl Briggs taking over. Her phone buzzed. Wayne, Dad's brother, you awake?
Yeah. Can I come over?
Wayne looked older than his 20 years of defending his brother's name had carved deep lines into his face. He stood in Emma's doorway holding a cardboard box. Couldn't sleep either, he said. Keep thinking about what I should have seen. Emma made coffee. Wayne set the box on the table. What's this? Everything I kept from Dale's. Your mom threw most of it out, but I grabbed what I could. He pulled out a trucker's logbook. Not Dad's final one that was missing, but from October 9th. Look at this. Dale's handwriting. Neat and careful. Routes, times, mileage, everything a trucker needed to track. But in the margins, different notes. Carl Short again, covered his fuel. Turn to October 15th. Emma found it. Carl asked about life insurance today. Weird question now. October 22nd. Carl's gambling again. Dolores called looking for him. Told her he was on a run. Emma's hands tightened on the logbook. He was covering for him. Your dad was too loyal, always had been. We started Twin Pines together, all 3 of us, back in '85. But Carl never could handle money. Wayne pulled out a manila folder. I did some digging after Dale disappeared. Found these photocopies of receipts from a truck stop casino in Oklahoma. Carl's signature, thousands of dollars. How? Buddy of mine worked there. Carl owed money to the wrong people. Wayne's jaw tightened, the kind who break fingers first, ask questions later. Did you tell the police? Tried to. They said Dale probably had debts too. Said he ran off to escape them. Wayne laughed, bitter. Dale never gambled a day in his life, wouldn't even buy lottery tickets. Emma's phone rang. Sheriff Garrett. We need you to come in, both you and Wayne, if he's there. I can hear him breathing. They drove separately to the station. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky the color of rust. The sheriff's office was already busy. Deputies moving with purpose. Garrett led them to an interview room. A laptop sat on the table. We pulled this from the truck's sleeping compartment. It was in a waterproof case. Truckers used them for paperwork. Still worked after we dried it out. He turned the screen toward them. Your father kept records, detailed ones, spreadsheets, delivery logs, payment records, and a folder labeled Carl. Jesus. Wayne breathed. Inside were scanned IOUs. Dozens of them. Carl Briggs owed Twin Pines Trucking. The last one was dated November 1st, 1992. There's more. Garrett clicked another file. Insurance papers. Dale had a $500,000 life insurance policy. Standard for truckers, but look at the beneficiary change form. November 5th, 1992. 3 days before Dale died, the beneficiary had been changed from Linda Hoffman to Twin Pines Trucking LLC. That's not Dad's signature, Emma said immediately. Look at the H in Hoffman. Dad made his H's different. 2 separate lines. This is connected, we noticed. We also pulled Carl's financial records from 1992. November 15th, 7 days after Dale disappeared. Carl deposited said it was from a cargo bonus. But the company that supposedly paid it doesn't exist. Where is Carl now? Wayne asked. Lake House, retired there in '98, after selling the trucking business. We're heading there this afternoon. I want to come, Emma said. That's not, please. I need to see his face when you ask him. Garrett studied her. You can observe from the car, that's all. The drive to Lake Buchanan took 2 hours. Emma followed the sheriff's cruiser. Wayne beside her. Neither spoke much. The hills rolled by. Scrub brush and cedar. The same landscape Dad would have driven through hundreds of times. Carl's lake house sat on a prime lot. All glass and stone. A new boat bobbed at the private dock. Money everywhere. 20 years of spending what he'd take. Emma parked where Garrett indicated. far enough back, but with a clear view. She watched the sheriff and 2 deputies approach the door. Carl answered, older, heavier, but still the same Uncle Carl who'd taught her to fish. He was smiling, shaking Garrett's hand, playing the friendly retiree. Then Garrett must have said why they were there. Carl's body changed, stiffened. He stepped back, shook his head, gestured toward the lake. He's going to run, Wayne said. But Carl didn't run. He invited them in. The door closed. They waited 5 minutes. 10. Emma's phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer that, Wayne said. But she did. Emma. Dolores Briggs, Carl's wife. Voice rough from decades of cigarettes. Is it true about your father? They found him in the quarry. Silence. Then I knew. God helped me. I knew something was wrong. Carl came home that night, covered in mud. Said he'd had to change a tire. But Dale's truck didn't have a flat when they found it. Did it? Emma's heart hammered. Dolores, I'm at my sister's in Austin. Been here since yesterday when the sheriff called. I'm not going back. 40 years of marriage, and I'm done lying for him. What happened that night? Carl left at 9 dinner. Said he was meeting Dale about selling his share of the business. Came back at 3 a.m. in the morning. Shirt had blood on it. Just a little on the sleeve. I washed it. God forgive me, I washed it. Will you testify? A long pause. Your father was a good man. He deserved better than what Carl gave him. Better than what we all gave him. The line went dead. The front door of the lake house opened. Carl came out in handcuffs. Garrett behind him. Even from 50 yards away, Emma could see Carl looking around, searching for something. His eyes found her car, found her watching. He smiled. The same smile from her graduation, her wedding, like he was proud of her. Wayne's hand clenched on her arm. But Emma was already out of the car, walking toward them. Carl watched her approach, that smile never wavering. Emma, honey, don't. Her voice came out steady. Don't you dare. Your father would be proud of you, Carl said. He always talked about you. Every run, showing that picture, telling everyone about his little girl. You killed him. I tried to save him. The business was failing. The debt. You don't understand what they would have done to me. To all of us. So you shot him. Carl's smile finally faded. He wouldn't take the money. Said he'd rather lose everything honest than steal from the insurance company. Stubborn fool. I offered him half to disappear. More than half. He could have started over. Sent for you later. He would never have left us. No, Carl agreed. That was the problem. Dale always did the right thing, even when it was the stupid thing. Garrett guided Carl toward the cruiser, but Carl kept talking, voice carrying across the gravel drive. I helped you, paid for your college with that insurance money, walked you down the aisle when you got married. I was there, Emma. Where was he? He was at the bottom of Garrison Quarry, where you put him. Carl stopped walking. For a moment, his mask slipped completely. He made me do it. If he'd just taken the money. Get him out of here, Emma said to Garrett. They drove Carl away. Emma stood in his driveway, looking at the lake house built with blood money. Wayne came up beside her. You okay? No. She thought about that school photo, protected in plastic, waiting 20 years in the dark. But at least now I know. He didn't leave us. He didn't choose anything else over us. He never would have. Wayne said, your dad loved 2 things in this world. You and your mom. Everything else was just work. Emma's phone buzzed. Mom texting from the hospital, where she worked, saw the news alert. They arrested Carl. Coming home early. Are you okay? Emma typed back. He didn't leave us. Mom, he never left us. The lake sparkled in the morning sun. Somewhere out there were answers to the rest of it. Who helped Carl move the truck? Why Garrison Quarry? How he'd kept it secret for 20 years. But those would come. For now, it was enough to know that Dale Hoffman had been exactly who she'd believed he was before that November night. A good man, a loyal partner, a father who would never abandon his family, even if it had cost him everything to stay. The Texaco on Route 2087 hadn't changed much in 20 years. Same cracked asphalt, same flickering neon, same bell that chimed when Emma pushed through the door. The clerk, a kid maybe 19, looked up from his phone. Help you? I need to talk to someone who worked here in Lady, I wasn't even born. The owner then, manager, anyone? The kid shrugged. Mr. Vega owns it. has since the 80s. He comes in Thursdays for inventory. Thursday, 3 days away, Emma bought a coffee she didn't want and sat in her car staring at the parking lot. Dad had sat right here, November 8, 1992. Right here where she was parked. His Peterbilt, taking up 3 spaces. Carl had been here too. They had his receipt now. 10:15 p.m., but Dad's receipt said 11:47. That gap bothered her. An hour and 32 minutes between them. Her phone rang. Sheriff Garrett. Carl's not talking. Lawyered up. But we found something in his house. Paper rustling. A key to a storage unit. Berkeley's self-storage. Unit 47. His wife says he's had it since 1993. Want me to meet you there? Already here. You should see this. Berkeley's self-storage sat behind the old freight depot. Rows of orange doors baking in the Texas sun. Unit 47 was climate-controlled. The expensive kind. Garrett had the door open. Deputies photographing everything inside. Boxes. Dozens of them. Labeled with dates. Emma saw one. Marked, November 9. Can I gloves first? Garrett handed her latex gloves. We think he kept records of everything. Some kind of insurance in case anyone came after him. Emma opened the November box. Photos. The trucks. The warehouse. Shipping manifest. And at the bottom, a cassette tape. Labeled November 8, 9. DH. Jesus Christ. Garrett breathed. Is that Dad recorded his run sometimes? Emma said. Said it helped him stay awake. Talking through his thoughts. Emma held the tape like it might shatter. He must have been recording that night. They drove to the station in silence. The evidence tech had an old cassette player, the kind Emma remembered from childhood. The tape clicked in static. Then Dad's voice, alive and tired, and 20 years dead. 2,300 hours. November. Loading dock was a mess tonight. Carl showed up drunk again. Had to cover his. The recording cut off. Then picked up again. Back on. Carl followed me to the Texaco. Says he needs to talk about the business. Christ. I know what that means. More money. Dolores called Linda yesterday. They're behind on the house. I can't keep another cut. 11:45. Carl's getting in. He's pretty worked up about. Carl's voice slurred. Just drive, Dale. Drive and listen. You're drunk. I'm desperate. There's a difference. You know what Tony Castellano does to people who owe him for. That's your problem, Carl. No. That's our problem. He'll come after the business, after both of us. The truck engine rumbled. Emma could hear the turn signal. The shift of gears. Carl, what's that? Insurance papers. Sign them. I'm driving. Pull over then. There's a spot up ahead. The old Garrison Quarry road. Emma's chest tightened. Wayne grabbed her hand. Dad's voice again. This changes the beneficiary to the company. Temporary. Just till I pay off Tony. You die. God forbid. The business gets the money, pays the debts. Everyone's safe. No, Dale, please. I said no. And put that away. What the gun? Carl, think I didn't notice? Put it away. Silence. Except for the engine. Then Carl. Different now. Steadier. I can't go back without this signed. Then don't go back. They'll kill me. Call the police. File bankruptcy. Hell, I'll loan you what I can. You have $8,000? Because that's what I need by tomorrow. Or they break my legs. First my legs, then my hands, then my head. Carl, sign the papers, Dale. No. The turn signal again. Gravel under tires. The engine stopped. Why are we at the quarry? Dad's voice. Careful now. It's quiet. We need to talk this through. We can talk at the office. Get out, Carl. Get out. Carl. Doors opening. Emma could hear wind. Distant crickets. Her father breathing. You're going to disappear. Carl said, take the truck. Drive to Mexico. I'll tell everyone you ran off. Insurance pays out. I cover the debts. Everyone lives. Except my family thinks I abandoned them. Better than dead. Because those are your options, Dale. You leave. Or what? You'll shoot me? You're not a killer, Carl. I'm not going to die for your principles, and I'm not abandoning my daughter for your gambling debts. Footsteps on gravel. Moving away from the recorder. Dale, please, I'm begging you. No. They have my picture. My address. They know about Dolores. Should have thought about that before you started gambling. I was trying to make us money. The business was struggling. The business was fine. Until you started skimming. Silence. Long enough that Emma thought the tape had stopped. Then a sound like a firecracker. Small and sharp. A thud. Carl's voice closer to the recorder now. Dale, come on. I didn't mean. Oh God. Dragging sounds. Grunting. Carl. Sobbing. The truck door opened. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You made me. You wouldn't just. The engine started. The truck moving. Gravel. Then nothing. Then the splash. Smaller than Emma expected. Just a splash. Like someone diving into a pool. Then Carl's voice. Very close to the recorder. November 8th, 1992, 12:47 a.m. He was trying to sound official. Dale Hoffman has abandoned his truck and cargo. Location unknown. I'm recovering the vehicle for Twin Pines Trucking. The tape ran out. Nobody spoke. Emma stared at the cassette player. Like it might play more. Might give her father's voice back. Might rewrite the ending. Wayne had his head in his hands. Even Garrett looked shaken. That's murder one, the sheriff finally said. Premeditated. He brought the gun. Picked the location. He kept the tape. Emma said. Why keep it? In case anyone questioned the story. Garrett rewound the tape carefully. Carl always did keep detailed records. Emma stood up. Needed air. Outside. The sun was too bright. She called her mother. Mom. They have a tape. Dad recorded it. What kind of tape? His last night. Carl. Shot him. We heard it happen. Silence. Then Linda started crying. Really crying. The kind Emma hadn't heard since those first weeks after Dad disappeared. He said no. Linda managed. He could have lived if he'd just signed. But he said no. He wouldn't leave us. That stubborn, stupid, wonderful man. Emma watched traffic pass the station. Regular people. Living regular lives. Not knowing that a 20-year-old murder had just been solved by a dead man's own voice. In the last box. 1998. There was a contract. Twin Pines Trucking. Sold to Castellano Holdings. For 1-1. That's why Carl sold. Tony took the whole thing. Emma stared at the contract. Her father had died for a business that ended up in his killer's hands anyway. All of it for nothing. We have enough, Garrett said. Conspiracy accessory after the fact. Extortion. Tony's going down too. Emma nodded. But she was thinking about the text. Neither was Roy. Sheriff, she said slowly. When did Roy die? 2003. Beth said. Of liver cancer. Right. Roy didn't drink. Dad mentioned it once. Roy was allergic to alcohol. Broke out in hives. Garrett's face changed. You think? I think Tony cleaned house. Roy knew too much. They drove back to Beth's trailer. She was still in her recliner. But something was different. Another car in the driveway. Tony Castellano's Lincoln. Garrett called for backup. But Emma was already moving. Through the window, she could see Tony standing over Beth, hands gesturing. Beth looked terrified. Stay here, Garrett ordered. But Emma followed him to the door. Keep your mouth shut, Tony was saying. Same deal as before. You talk, you lose everything. Police, Garrett announced. Step away from Mrs. Briggs. Tony turned. Unsurprised. Sheriff. Just visiting an old friend. Beth, are you okay? Emma asked. Beth nodded. But her hands were shaking. Mr. Castellano was just leaving, Garrett said. Tony straightened his jacket. Mrs. Briggs, and I have an understanding. 20 years of understanding. Right, Beth? Beth looked at Emma, at Garrett, at Tony. Then she straightened in her chair. Roy didn't die of cancer, she said. He was poisoned. Slow. Over months. Tony brought him supplements. Said they'd help with his liver. Roy trusted him. Tony's face went cold. Prove it. Roy kept one of the bottles, Beth said. Hid it. Said, if anything happens to me, make sure it gets tested. Beth stood up, walked to a cabinet, pulled out a supplement bottle, dusty and old. 20 years I've kept this. 20 years of being afraid. Tony lunged for it. But Garrett was faster. Cuffs clicking on before Tony could reach the bottle. Anthony Castellano, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, accessory after the fact, extortion, and suspected murder of Roy Briggs. Tony laughed. You think this ends with me? You have no idea how deep this goes. But Emma wasn't listening. She was looking at Beth. The woman who'd kept evidence for 20 years, waiting for someone to ask the right questions. Just like Carl had kept his tapes and photos. Just like Dad had kept recording that night. Everyone documenting their sins. Waiting to be caught or waiting to be cleared. The truth didn't always set you free. Sometimes it just showed you the size of the prison you'd been living in, all along. The trial was set for spring. Carl Briggs charged with first-degree murder. Tony Castellano charged with conspiracy, extortion, and suspicion of murder in Roy's death. Emma thought that would be the end of it. But the universe wasn't done with surprises. She was cleaning out her apartment storage closet. Needed to keep busy, keep moving. When she found the box, her teenage stuff, things Mom had dropped off years ago, diaries, photos, mixtapes, and at the bottom, a bundle of letters tied with twine. Letters from Dad, sent to her at summer camp in 1992. She'd been 8, gone for 2 weeks in July. She'd forgotten he wrote every day. Dear Emma Bear, hope you're having fun at camp. Saw a red-tailed hawk on my run today. Made me think of you. Remember when we watched that one circle the yard? Normal Dad stuff. Except the last letter, dated July 14th, had something else. Uncle Carl's been having some troubles. Adult stuff. Nothing for you to worry about. But if anything ever happens to me, remember that I love you more than all the stars in Texas. Take care of your mom. And remember, I keep my important things in the place where we watched the fireworks. Emma's hands shook. The place where they watched fireworks. The roof of the truck's sleeping cab. They'd climbed up there every 4th of July at the company lot. Watched the city display from miles away. She called Wayne. I need to get into Dad's truck. Now, the truck was still in the impound lot. Released from evidence. But nowhere else to go. Wayne met her there with Garrett, who had the keys. What are we looking for? Wayne asked. Dad hid something in the roof of the sleeping cab. They climbed into the musty interior. The ceiling of the sleeping compartment looked solid, but Emma remembered Dad showing her once how the panels came down for maintenance. Wayne popped the first panel. Nothing. The second, insulation and wires. The third made a different sound. Hollow. There's something. A plastic bag wrapped in duct tape. Inside, a notebook and another cassette tape. The notebook was Dad's backup log. The one the company never saw. Emma opened it. Found July 1992. Carl's in deep with Tony Castellano. 47,000. Tony threatened to hurt Dolores. Carl asked me to help fake a robbery. Collect insurance. Said. Number. August 1992. Carl's getting desperate. Talking about accidents. Disappearances. Told him to get help. He said it's too late for that. September 1992. Found Carl in the office with my insurance papers. Changed them back. Need to keep these somewhere safe. If something happens to me, it's Carl. October 1992. Tony came by the yard today. Said I was a good man. Shame if something happened. They're planning something. The final entry. November 7th, 1992. The day before he died. Carl asked me to take the Dallas run tomorrow. His turn, but says he's sick. Think this is it. Recording everything now. If you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Tell Emma I loved her. Tell Linda I'm sorry. Make sure Carl pays. Emma couldn't breathe. He knew. Dad knew they were going to kill him. Why didn't he run? Wayne asked. Or go to the police. Garrett held up the tape. Let's find out. Back at the station. They played it. Dad's voice. Tired but determined. November 7th, 1992. If you're hearing this, something's happened to me. Carl Briggs and Tony Castellano have been planning something. Carl owes Tony money from gambling. They want to use my life insurance to pay it. I could run. Could take Emma and Linda and disappear. But that's no life for them. Always looking over our shoulders. And Carl would still owe Tony. Tony would go after Carl's family next. Dolores. Maybe even come after mine anyway. So, I'm going to take that Dallas run tomorrow. Going to act normal. If they try something, this tape is evidence. If they don't, maybe Carl found another way out. Emma. Baby girl. If you ever hear this, I'm not brave. I'm just tired of watching Carl destroy himself. Maybe if I'm gone, the insurance money saves him. Maybe he gets clean, takes care of you, and your mom. Maybe something good comes from this. I know that's stupid, but I've got no good choices left. Run and live in fear, or stay and hope Carl remembers who he used to be. I love you, Emma, more than all the stars in Texas. The tape clicked off. Nobody spoke. Emma felt hollow, carved out. Her father had walked into his death with eyes open, hoping the man who would kill him might somehow be saved by it. Jesus, Wayne whispered. He committed suicide by Carl. No, Emma said firmly. He was murdered. Dad hoped Carl would back out, hoped their friendship meant something. Her phone rang. Dolores Briggs. Emma, I need to see you. It's important. Can you come to the house? Emma didn't want to go back to that lake house. But Dolores sounded different, urgent. The house was half-packed, boxes everywhere. Dolores was in Carl's office, shredding documents. I'm destroying everything that's not evidence, she said. But I found this hidden in his desk. A leather journal, worn and stained, Carl's handwriting. It's from 1992, Dolores said. Emma opened it. November 9th, 1992. The day after the murder. Dale's dead. I killed him. I killed my best friend. He wouldn't sign the papers. Why couldn't he just sign? Now Emma has no father. Linda has no husband. And I have to live with this. Tony says it's clean. Nobody will know. But I know. I'll always know. November 15th. Insurance company is investigating. Have to act normal. Went to see Linda today. She was crying. Emma asked when Daddy was coming home. I threw up after. December 25th. Christmas at Linda's. Brought presents for Emma. She hugged me. Said I was the best uncle. I'm not. I'm the worst thing that ever happened to her. The entries continued year after year. Carl documenting his guilt. His attempts to make amends. His slow descent into alcoholism. By 1998. The writing was barely legible. Selling the company to Tony. He wins. Got Dale killed. Got the business. Got everything. I got nothing but ghosts. Roy's dead. Tony says cancer, but Roy was getting nervous, talking about confessing. Now he's gone. When's my turn? 2012. Just weeks ago. They're draining the quarry. Dale's coming home. 20 years of waiting for this. Almost relief. Emma will know the truth. Finally the last entry. The day of his arrest. She looked at me like Dale used to. Disappointed, but not surprised. I wanted to tell her everything. How her dad was brave. How he knew something might happen. How he faced it anyway. But what's the point? Dale's dead. Roy's dead. And I'm already in hell. Emma closed the journal. Dolores was crying. He destroyed everything, Dolores said. 3 families ruined. For what? Gambling debts. Fear. Emma said. Dad wrote that Tony threatened you. Carl was trying to protect you by killing Dale. By making a terrible choice in a moment of panic. Emma's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number again. Your father wasn't the only one. Check the quarry records. 1978 to 1992. She showed Garrett when she got back to the station. Someone's still feeding us information, he said. Someone who wants Tony to go down but can't come forward. They pulled the quarry records. Garrison Quarry closed in 1978. After a worker died in an accident. Owned by Castellano Holdings since 1975. Tony owned it the whole time. Garrett said it was his dumping ground. They got a warrant. Sent divers back in. Over 3 days. They found 2 more vehicles. A sedan from 1981, driver shot in the head. And a van from 1988. 2 bodies, both shot. All 3 vehicles had been reported stolen. Their occupants listed as missing persons. Tony's been killing people for 30 years, Garrett said, using the quarry as his cemetery. The FBI took over. Tony's construction empire unraveled. Money laundering, murder, racketeering. Carl became a witness, trading testimony for a reduced sentence, life without parole, instead of the death penalty. Emma went to see him once before the trial. He looked older, smaller, gray stubble, and orange jumpsuit. I know about the letters, she said. Dad knew you might try something. Carl nodded. Dale always was smarter than me. He hoped I'd back out. Even at the end he believed I was better than this. I wasn't. No, you weren't. Carl was quiet for a moment. The tape from the truck. Does it? We hear the shot. We hear you crying. Good. Everyone should know what I did. What I took from you. Emma stood to leave. Then stopped. Dad wrote that he hoped his death would save you. That you'd get clean. Take care of us. Carl laughed, bitter. I tried. God knows I tried. But every time I looked at you I saw him. Every good thing I did was with his blood money. You could have confessed any time in 20 years. And lose Dolores. Go to prison. I was a coward, Emma. That's all. A coward who killed a brave man. Emma left him there. Outside the prison. Wayne was waiting. How was it? Empty. Like talking to a ghost. They drove to the cemetery. where they'd buried Dad properly. A small stone with his name, dates and beloved father and husband. Linda was there arranging fresh flowers. Prosecutor called, she said. Trial starts Monday. Emma nodded. They'd all have to testify, have to relive that night through evidence and testimony. But at least now there would be justice. Or something like it. You know what I keep thinking, Linda said. Dale knew something might happen, but he still kissed us goodbye that morning like it was normal. Still made your lunch. Still fixed that loose board on the porch. He lived his last day like he had a million more. Because he hoped Carl would change his mind. Or because he wanted our last memories to be normal, not shadowed by fear. Emma thought about that. About her father's choice to face danger rather than run. About Carl's choice to pull the trigger. About Tony's choice to poison Roy. About Roy's choice to help his brother. Choices rippling through decades, destroying families, creating ghosts. But also about Beth's choice to keep evidence. About Dolores's choice to testify. About Wayne's choice to never stop defending his brother. About her mother's choice to rebuild their lives. And her own choice now to let this define her, or to just let it be part of her story. I'm pregnant, she said suddenly. She hadn't meant to announce it here now, but it felt right. Linda turned, eyes wide. Wayne dropped his cigarette. About 6 weeks, Emma continued. Just found out. Her mother hugged her, crying again but different tears. Dale would have been so happy, Linda whispered. A grandfather. Emma touched her still flat stomach. New life growing while they sorted through old death. The timing felt cosmic, planned, though she knew it was just coincidence, or maybe not. Maybe this was Dad's final gift. Not the insurance money, or the evidence, or even the truth, but the reminder that life continues, that families endure, that love survives even murder, even decades, even the bottom of a quarry. She'd name the baby Dale if it was a boy. That was decided. And she'd tell him the truth when he was old enough, that his grandfather was a good man who died rather than abandon his family, who saw death coming and faced it with hope, that his killer might find redemption. That was a legacy worth preserving, even if it had taken 20 years to surf. Emma couldn't stop thinking about that text. Your father wasn't the only one. Check the quarry records. 1978 to 1992. The FBI had taken over the quarry investigation. But Emma knew a clerk at the county records office, Brenda, who'd gone to school with Mom. Garrison Quarry, Brenda said, pulling dusty boxes. Closed in 78, but there's something strange. Ownership transferred to Castellano Holdings in 1975, but the paperwork was filed by Morrison Development. Emma's stomach dropped. Jack Morrison. His father, actually. Jack took over in. Brenda pulled out another file. Look at this. Morrison Development also owned 3 other quarries. All closed between 1976 and all sold to shell companies, connected to Tony Castellano. 4 quarries, 4 dumping grounds. Emma drove to the hardware store where she worked, called in sick, then headed to Morrison Transport's warehouse. She needed to know what Jack Morrison's connection was. The industrial district was quiet at midday. Through the chain-link fence, she could see trucks being loaded. Normal shipping. Nothing suspicious, but something felt wrong about the whole setup. A hand grabbed her shoulder. Emma spun, almost screamed. A woman stood there, maybe 40, wearing a trucker's jacket. You're Emma Hoffman. Who are Maria Vasquez? I drive for Morrison, and I knew your dad. Emma's heart hammered. You're the one who sent that text. We need to move. Security does rounds. Maria led her to a pickup parked behind a dead warehouse. Your dad trained me. Summer of 92, just before he died. He was a good man. What's Morrison Transport moving? Same thing. Tony had Twin Pines moving after your dad died. Drugs from Mexico. But that's not the worst part. Maria lit a cigarette, hands shaking. Jack Morrison was Tony's silent partner, has been since the 80s. Emma felt the ground tilt. Jack Morrison, who'd given her a job after Dad disappeared, who'd been at every town council meeting, every charity drive, who'd hired half the town's kids. Dad found out, didn't he? The Dallas run your dad was supposed to take. It wasn't machine parts. It was a drug shipment. Your dad would have discovered it when he made the delivery. That's why Carl had to kill him that night. But Carl said it was about the gambling debts. That was real too. Tony used Carl's debts to force him to kill Dale, but Jack Morrison gave the order. Maria pulled out a manila envelope. I've been collecting evidence for 15 years. After what happened to your dad, I kept my mouth shut and my eyes open. Inside the envelope, shipping manifests with dual entries, one official, one real, photos of trucks at border crossings, a list of dates and location. Why didn't you go to the police? Jack owns half the police. The other half are too scared. Maria started her truck, but now Tony's arrested. Jack's nervous. He's moving everything. Tonight at 2 a.m., he's cleaning house, moving all the evidence out of state. Emma's phone rang. Sheriff Garrett, where are you? His voice was tight. Industrial District. Get home now. Someone torched Carl's storage unit. Fire department's there, but everything's gone. Emma looked at Maria. They're destroying evidence. Like I said, cleaning house. Maria handed her another envelope. This is my insurance. Recordings, documents, photos, everything I could gather. You want justice for your dad. Jack Morrison has to fall. Emma drove home, mind racing. She found Garrett at the storage facility watching firefighters spray water on the blackened ruins of Unit 47. Accelerant everywhere, he said. Professional job. It was Morrison. Emma showed him Maria's evidence. Jack Morrison ordered Dad's murder. Garrett went pale. Emma, Jack Morrison donated $300,000 to my election campaign. Are you saying? I'm saying be careful. If this is true, he owns half the town. Emma's phone buzzed. Mom calling. Linda's voice shook. Someone broke into the house. They didn't take anything, but Dale's photos are all turned backwards. Every single one. A message. They could reach her family. Emma drove to her mother's house. Linda was on the porch with Wayne, both looking scared. This was on the kitchen table. Wayne handed her a note. Some rocks are better left unturned. Your father learned that. We're getting close, Emma said. Morrison's scared. Morrison. Wayne's face darkened. Jack Morrison was at Dale's funeral. He gave the eulogy. Emma remembered Morrison talking about what a good man Dale was, how the town had lost a pillar of the community, all while knowing he'd ordered the murder. She hid Maria's evidence in her car under the spare tire. Then she called Maria back. Can you meet tonight? We need more proof. Can't. Morrison's got me on a run to Houston, but there's someone else who wants to talk. Pete Kowalski. The name was familiar from old news articles. Tony's enforcer from the 90s. He's dying, Maria said. Cancer. Has maybe weeks left. He called me, said he wants to clear his conscience about your dad. Where? The old rest stop on Highway 6. Midnight. But Emma, be careful. Pete's burned a lot of bridges. At 11:45, Emma parked at the rest stop, abandoned since the new highway opened. Just crumbling concrete and dead lights. One other car waited. An old Crown Victoria. Pete Kowalski looked like death walking, thin, gray, breathing from an oxygen tank. But his eyes were sharp. You look like him, he said. Same stubborn set to the jaw. Tell me about Morrison. Jack and Tony were partners since Tony was muscle. Jack was money. They used trucking companies to move product from Mexico, clean businesses for dirty money. Pete pulled out a cigarette, laughed at the irony, lit it anyway. Your dad's company was perfect. Small, family-run, good reputation. So they targeted him. They tried to buy in first. Your dad said no. Then they went after Carl. Knew he was weak, got him in debt, used that as leverage. But Carl loved my father. That's why it worked. Tony knew Carl would do anything to protect Dolores, even kill his best friend. Pete took a long drag, but your dad figured it out. The week before he died, he went to see Jack. Emma's breath caught. Dad confronted Morrison. November 1st. I was there, sitting in Jack's office. Your dad walked in, told Jack to leave Twin Pines alone. Jack laughed. Said truckers were replaceable. What did Dad say? That he'd go to the FBI. Had evidence of the drug running. Jack told him to go ahead. Who'd believe a trucker over the town's biggest employer? Pete dropped the cigarette. Your dad left. Jack turned to me and Tony. Said fix this. 1 week later your dad was dead. You were there when they planned it. I gave Tony the idea about the quarry. My uncle worked there in the 70s. Told me about the deep spots that never got mapped. Pete coughed hard. I've been carrying that for 20 years. A car engine started nearby. Then another. Headlights blazed from 3 directions. Shit, Pete muttered. They followed you, or you. Does it matter? He pulled out a revolver. Get behind the car. The vehicle stopped in a triangle, boxing them in. Men got out. Emma recognized one from Morrison Then Jack Morrison himself stepped into the light. 70 years old, silver-haired, wearing a suit that cost more than most people's cars. "Pete," he said pleasantly, "you should be in hospice." Morrison staggered, looked down at the spreading red on his white shirt. "You shot me." "Small caliber," Wayne said, "just like you had Carl use on Dale. Poetic, right?" Morrison fell to his knees at the quarry's edge, the same spot where Carl had pushed Dad's truck in 20 years ago. "You don't understand," Morrison gasped. "The whole town runs on what I built. Without me, without you, maybe we can finally clean this place up." Wayne kept the gun trained on him. "Emma, there's evidence in Morrison's truck. He was stupid enough to bring it. Wanted to show you before he killed you. Ego always was his weakness." Emma looked in the truck. Boxes of documents, photos and cassette tapes. Dozens of them, all labeled with dates and initials. One marked DH11 January 9. Dad's conversation with Morrison, the one Pete had described. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Morrison tried to stand, slipped on the wet rocks. The quarry edge crumbled under his weight. "Help me," he gasped, hanging onto a root. Emma stepped forward, then stopped, remembered Dad's voice on that tape, begging Carl to think, remembered 20 years of believing he'd abandoned them. Wayne grabbed Morrison's wrist, pulled him up. "You're going to live, and you're going to prison, and everyone's going to know what you did." Sheriff Garrett's cruiser roared up, followed by state police. Real state police, not local. "Wayne called us," the lead officer said Jack Morrison was destroying evidence in a federal case. They took Morrison away in an ambulance, cuffed to the gurney. Wayne in another car, but not arrested. "Self-defense," Garrett said. Emma stood at the quarry's edge, looking at the black water. Dad had died here, but the truth had lived. Her phone buzzed. "Maria, from the hospital, survived the crash. Talking to FBI now. It's over. Not over, but ending. Finally ending." The FBI raid started at dawn 3 days after Morrison's arrest. Emma watched from her apartment window as black SUVs surrounded Morrison Transport. Agents in windbreakers carried out box after box. 20 years of evidence Morrison had kept, just like Carl, everyone documenting their crimes, waiting to be caught. Wayne's son, Tyler, had been found unharmed in a motel outside Austin. Morrison's men abandoning him when news of the shooting spread. Wayne was out on bail, the prosecutor calling it clear self-defense. But Emma could see the weight on him. Taking a life, even Morrison's, had cost him something. She was making coffee when someone knocked. Maria Vasquez stood there on crutches, face still bruised from the crash. "They didn't cut my brake lines," Maria said, coming in. "Morrison lied about that. One of his trucks ran me off the road." "But you're testifying tomorrow, federal grand jury." Maria sat heavily at the kitchen table. "But there's something else. Something I didn't tell the FBI yet." Emma poured coffee, waited. "Your dad wasn't the first trucker Morrison and Tony killed. There were 3 others between 1985 and 1991. Drivers who asked questions or refused to carry special cargo. Who were they?" "Ben Hutchkins, 1985. Found dead in his cab. Heart attack, they said. He was 32. Mike Garrett, 1988. Garrett, like Sheriff Garrett. His brother. Truck burned on Interstate 20, ruled an accident. Tom Garrett was a rookie cop then, pushed for an investigation but got shut down." Maria pulled out a worn notebook. "The third was Louise Palmer, 1991. Single mom, 2 kids. Her truck went off a bridge. No skid marks." Emma stared at the names. Sheriff Garrett knew this whole time. He suspected, Maria said, but Morrison owned his superiors. Tom spent 20 years working his way up, waiting for a chance. Maria slid the notebook over. "Louise Palmer's daughter works at the courthouse. Jennifer Palmer Cross. She's been helping me gather evidence." The name hit Emma like ice water. Jennifer Cross, the prosecutor handling Carl and Morrison's cases. She knows Morrison killed her mother. She's known for years, been building a case file, waiting for the right moment. Maria stood. "She wants to meet you today." There's something in your dad's truck she needs to see. They met at the impound lot. Jennifer Palmer Cross was 43, sharp-featured with her mother's eyes in the old photo she carried. I was 9 when Mom died, she said, staring at Dale's truck, old enough to know it wasn't an accident. She'd called me that night, said, if anything happened, remember the name Morrison. Why didn't you? I was 9. Then I was a teenager nobody believed. Then I was a law student who needed to stay quiet to get into position. Jennifer climbed into the truck's cab. Your dad hid something else. Maria remembers him working on something the week before he died. Jennifer felt along the dashboard, pulled it open. Behind the radio, wrapped in plastic, another tape and a key. The tape was labeled, Insurance, November 5, 1992. Emma's hands shook. 3 days before Dad died, they played it in Garrett's office. Dad's voice tired but determined. This is Dale Hoffman. If you're hearing this, something's happened to me. The following is my sworn statement about Morrison Transport and Twin Pines Trucking. Jack Morrison and Tony Castellano have been using local trucking companies to transport drugs from Mexico since at least 1985. They killed Ben Hutchkins when he found a shipment. They killed Mike Garrett when he tried to report it. They killed Louise Palmer when she refused to drive for them. I have proof. Safety deposit box, 40 Farb. At First National, the key is hidden in my truck. The evidence includes photos of drug shipments, recordings of Morrison and Tony discussing murders, and documents showing the money laundering through Morrison Development. Carl Briggs is being blackmailed. They're using his gambling debts to force him to do something. I think they want him to kill me. Carl's not a killer, but he's desperate. If I die, check Carl's gun. He bought a .22 last month. I saw the receipt. I'm not running. Emma needs stability. Linda needs our home. And if I run, Morrison and Tony will just kill someone else. Maybe Carl. Maybe another driver who asks questions. So I'm leaving this recording. I'm gathering evidence, and I'm trusting that someday someone will care enough to use it. The tape ended. Jennifer was crying. Garrett had his head in his hands. He knew everything. Emma whispered. He could have stopped it. How? Garrett asked. I tried for years to get evidence on Morrison. Every time I got close, witnesses disappeared or recanted. Your dad knew what we were up against. Emma held up the key. Safety deposit box.